Hi everybody, welcome to this week's video. So this week I'm obviously still in Seattle. I leave on Monday. This will be a little bit of a Q&A. The first question is from Airsick, asking about the roof on the Chateau. Do I have plans for that? So the update there is that I've tried several times to get a company who will come and give me a quote, but that's proving to be very difficult. Apparently in the area where I am, where the Chateau is, it's just sort of more southerly, and it's sort of a little more rare to do the slate roofs. So it's proving harder to find somebody who will come. I did find one company that was going to come from Bordeaux, and I've tried 3 times and they've canceled every time. So I'm guessing I just don't have a compelling enough project. I don't know why. It's not something I feel like I can afford to do right away anyway. So I feel like I'm touching wood right now to say, okay, maybe it'll be good for the next few years. So it's a job that I can put off until later. And in the meantime, I'll just keep trying to get a quote. That's all I can do. So right now, I don't have anybody who seems qualified to do it. Although I have to say that Bruce has raised his eyebrow a few times in terms of like the possibility of him doing it. So don't know. Okay. So we've got Ruth Stallings 6677. She wants to know my intentions for the cottage. Is it a guest cottage? I heard art studio. I see her putting in a kitchen. So yeah, it's kind of all of those things. My plan is that it just gives me flexibility. So if I, say, rent out the entire chateau, it gives me a place to go and stay. Or I could possibly rent out the cottage as a Airbnb as well, just to give me a little income. Yeah, it's really just meant to give me some possibilities. And then as for the art studio, yeah, I think in either case, I would use it as an art studio on the 3rd floor. So anyway, we'll see what happens. You know, sometimes I do projects and then I think they're going to be used a certain way and then they get used in a completely different way. But for now, that's the thinking. So I've been trying to work on projects that will help me bring in some revenue. So that's why the master bathroom in my bathroom kind of took precedence over the cottage, because I feel like once that bathroom is done, then I can have the whole house, like I can rent the whole house out, and I can actually just put the whole house out on Airbnb so people can just rent the house, and then I don't really have to do anything other than make beds. A lot of beds, granted, but that's kind of the goal that I'm working towards, is being able to rent, probably not a lot, just, you know, some few select weeks during the year where I'll rent the whole house out for a week, you know, to a big family or somebody who wants to do a wedding, but where I'm not going to be planning, I'm just going to make the beds. And the cottage plays into that, but kind of later on. So eventually it will just give me a place to stay if I rent out the whole house. So, what are some of the projects that you're excited to do over the next year? I look forward to Sundays, a glass of whatever, and watching your videos. I hope it's rosé. I guess projects for the next year, obviously it's finishing the bathroom, the cottage, but that's kind of dependent a little bit on Bruce coming back, which I think his plan is to come back the end of August, I hope, so that he'll be here for the September retreat. By the way, I still have 2 places available if you want to come to the September retreat. It'll be really, really fun, I promise. You'll get to meet Bruce and Tomas. So that would be really fun. I think I'm going to try, when I get back for sort of July, I'm going to work on the Rossignol room, which is the bedroom that has that sort of funny little bathroom. It's kind of next to the stairs up to the top floor. It definitely needs a makeover, so I'm going to pull all the wallpaper down and paint it. I don't know if I'm going to plan doing wallpaper in that room right away. I think I'm just going to paint it for now until I figure out, because I've got sort of wallpaper projects backing up because I'm a little bit intimidated about doing the wallpaper. Although I feel a little better doing the wallpaper after doing Pay-On, after the one Wanda and I did together, even though I messed it up. I kind of learned a lot, so I feel a little more confident now doing another one. But where I don't feel confident is the other ones I want to do. The ceilings are way higher, so the pieces are going to be way longer. And I think I'm definitely going to need somebody that's going to be able to help me kind of, I could be up above and somebody down below to just help place the pieces. So anyway, we'll see. I've been kind of contemplating. I'm really excited to do the bureau, the office. So I'm sort of thinking about doing that one on my own, but I don't know. Okay. And finally, Eternally Blessed 777. Will any of your children be visiting or moving to France with you? Did you finally move everything to France from your home in the US? That would be a no and a no. Olivia has just graduated as a naturopathic doctor, so she will be staying here to practice. And Carter, he is working for a large technology company with the hopes of eventually moving to California. So I don't think they're gonna move to France, but never say never. But they definitely visit. They visit sort of once a year, usually kind of August, September in there somewhere. So Olivia's coming for a month in August, so I'm excited about that. Carter's still up in the air with his plans because he doesn't get very much holidays, so and his last job he could kind of fudge it because he worked more from home, whereas this job he's kind of has to go into the office more, so a little harder to work from afar. And then in terms of moving my stuff, no, I haven't moved anything. Some clothes, that's about it. So everything is here still in the firehouse, and the firehouse is very full of stuff that we need to get rid of. A lot of stuff. I've had, Olivia lived in her own apartment, and when she moved back here, all her stuff came. Carter lived in his own apartment in New York, and when he left, everything came back here. I had a house on Vashon Island, not far from here, and when I sold that, everything came here. This is like the firehouse has become a depository of furniture and stuff, and yeah. So at some point, I think the kids are going to start moving out, and at that point I'll probably have to come back and just do like a massive clean out and then figure out what I'm going to do with the house. So my intention is to keep the firehouse and rent it out, make some income on it. So that's what I'm hoping will happen. I don't really intend on selling it, since it gives me a place to land when I come back to see the kids. So no plans to sell the firehouse, and I don't know if I'll wind up moving stuff from here to France. That just seems, I don't know, that just seems like a lot of expense, and there's nothing here that I'm just desperate to have, just because I like everything I have in France. Probably I'd be more inclined to move my things from France to Seattle, but yeah. So whatever happened with the ants swarming Chloe's food, we've started taking care of the ants by spraying things down with vinegar, actually. So that seems to work pretty well. Can you give us an idea of the price you charge for the retreats at your chateau? They kind of vary. It depends a lot on what I've got scheduled and that kind of thing. But they're in the kind of 3,500 range, 3,500 to 4,500, depending on what room you choose. But it's for the week. It's all inclusive. What is your favorite French word to say? That's a tough one. I do say à bientôt a lot, and bien sûr, and ça marche, because everybody in France says ça marche, meaning that works, because we say it in English too all the time. That works. I don't know. Yeah, there's some pretty good words in French. It's the more I get to understand French, the more I begin to realize that it's actually quite formal in its structure. It's, you wind up structuring sentences in a really quite a formal way. I'm kind of liking that aspect of French, actually. It feels somehow very elegant sometimes, although it can also be very so just depends who you're talking to, I guess. I like to think it's elegant. What is your favorite thing to do in your spare time? I'm a little bit addicted to solitaire on my phone. I'm not going to lie. But I do like to paint. I do read a lot. I listen to a lot of audiobooks, mostly when I'm painting the walls and doing house projects. And I haven't been doing a lot of it lately, but I'm also a writer, so I write. Okay. Are you retiring in the US or France? How are you planning for good? I don't know that I ever will retire. I'm kind of one of these people who just does a whole lot of things always. So when I'm in Seattle, I build websites for people. I produce books for people. I freelance write for big companies like Microsoft. I do a whole bunch of things. I make art and sell it. I'm actually in the process of selling a painting right now to someone in Canada, so that's kind of cool. And then obviously when I'm in France, really my job is to set up these retreats. So the goal is that eventually, between the retreats and renting the house from time to time, that it will allow me to kind of break even. Of course, that's not going to be completely true when I have to spend a ton of money building or having the roof redone and things like that. But I'm hoping that more or less it can sustain me and the house. That's the goal. But the reality, I don't know. The reality is unknown. Honestly, the roof is really the biggest cost of anything I think that I'm going to have to do, other than the cliff won't even come close, I think, to the roof. So that's kind of the big scary one that I'm definitely have my head in the sand about. I don't want to think about it. Are you open to the possibility of dating again? Oh gosh, not really, to be honest. I'm just super content with my life. I don't know. No, I'm just super content. Did you sell the fire station? No, clearly I still live here. How do your children feel about your dual citizenship? Are you still painting? Are you looking for a job? I think my kids think it's pretty cool that their mom is in France and has a chateau in France. I guess it's pretty good bragging rights. And am I still painting? Honestly, I don't have a lot of time to paint when I'm in France. I think if I were here any longer, I would have taken up painting a little bit more. I've done a tiny little bit, but nothing too extravagant. Am I looking for a job? Not really. If the Microsoft thing came back, then maybe, because it pays really well and I can do it in the evenings. So it kind of fit really well to my little French lifestyle. But I'm not really actively looking because it really, just running the chateau and doing the retreat thing is kind of a full-time job. So question regarding your workshops. Do you hold similar workshops while living in Seattle? I do not. I don't have 12 bedrooms in Seattle. I barely have enough bedrooms to manage us all here, plus 2 dogs and a cat. What has been the most challenging part of the move to France? It's probably some of the administrative stuff, sort of like figuring out what was needed for the visa, figuring out what's needed. Like I still haven't done my driver's license, which is probably a pretty big problem. I've really got to get on that and get tested. So that's on my docket for the rest of this summer. I think it's just sort of conducting day-to-day life in a language that is not your first language, and where you're missing kind of like probably 60% or 70% of the conversations, and that can be really hard and sometimes quite frustrating because there's so much more, and there's so much more sometimes you want to say, and that things are just getting lost in translation, and that gets really frustrating sometimes. But obviously my French is getting better little by little, but it's still nowhere near what it what I would like it to be ideally. Curious about what you call the pool. Is it actually like for swimming, or is it purely aesthetic like a pond? And what are your plans for the field beyond it? Are you going to be planting something or just landscaping it? The pool is it's really necessary in terms of evacuating water off the property. So my hope is that it's sort of, I think I've been watching some of these videos about people are taking their like chlorinated swimming pools and turning them into sort of basically ponds where they're still swimmable and super clean, but they're not chlorinated and they have plants around them. So my hope is that it kind of becomes like that. No, it's only like knee deep, so there's no diving. There's no diving into the pool. It's just it's really just a place to sit and enjoy and listen. And I'm hoping that you can sit on the edge and put your feet in, cool off on a hot day, that kind of thing. I envision sort of a platform with chaise lounges and sitting there with a gin and tonic. That's the dream. As for the field beyond, it's on an awkward slope, so I'm not really sure what to do about it. We did have one guy who came and gave us a quote for the falling of the cliff, who kind of devised this idea that maybe you could take the huge big boulders and put them down there and create kind of a level platform. But it just sounds so out there. So it's an idea, it's a possibility, but who knows? I'm not really, certainly in the short term, I'm not really thinking like I'm going to put gardens or whatever down there, but it would be nice to sort of landscape it and, be able to use it somehow. So honestly, I just haven't gotten there in my thinking at this point. So at the end of August, Diane, who is the volunteer who came last year and did my gardening, she is coming back. She will hopefully be there by then. The cliff will be down, so we'll be able to kind of hopefully put our heads together and try and figure out what's next for the garden. So I'm kind of waiting on her a little bit, because I think until we see the cliff down, it's just going to be really difficult to understand what's going to be needed. So will you move to France permanently? I think from a tax perspective, yes. From, I think I'm always going to be coming back and forth, because obviously my kids are here. And so I anticipate kind of coming back every 6 months, which seems to be working. So I'll be back again for sort of Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then I'll come back always in probably June, July. That's kind of my thinking. Do you have dual citizenship? I don't, but I have a visa. So hopefully when I get back, I will have a visa that will allow me to stay for 4 years before I have to kind of think about the next step. Eventually, I think if it's over 10 years, then you can work towards getting your sort of citizenship, or your residency, I guess, is really your full residency. Right now, I just have a long-term residency. I guess it's not like you're a full resident. Does that make sense? Maybe. I'm going to have a tax person who he's an American who works in Paris. And so he'll be doing both my American and French taxes. So there's a reciprocation there, so I don't get double taxed. So hopefully he'll help me sort it all out, because otherwise it feels very complicated. Do you have a car? Yes, I have a car. I bought a very old, well, not old, but reasonably old. I think a 2017 Renault, a Captur. And I do still have to get a driver's license. So how many bedrooms and bathrooms in your chateau? So the answer to that is 12, almost 13. It's 13 bedrooms if you include the little sort of dressing room, and then 12 bathrooms as well. And how many acres of land? So it's about 5 acres, but most of that is kind of wooded. What has been different in the reality of owning and renovating a chateau versus what you were expecting? I'd have to say that it's been pretty much what I expected. I think. Obviously, I didn't expect a cliff to fall. I didn't expect the roof to be as old as it was, but pretty much I think I've been really lucky in that I've chosen a chateau. I mean, technically it's a maison de maître. I've chosen a property that was in pretty good condition, other than the roof and the cliff. Wondering if my kids had expressed interest in living abroad. She says, you mentioned Wanda was looking for a place. Is Bruce still interested in a place as well? So I think I already answered really about the kids. So I doubt they'll move to France, but you never know. And then Wanda is definitely continuing to look, I think, but obviously her plans are on hold right now. So I'm not sure when she might be coming back. And kind of likewise for Bruce, he's coming back in August, but I don't know in terms of whether he's going to continue to look for a place, or if, honestly, he has so many places that he could stay at this point. He has 3 different chateaus that would happily house him in order to get work done. So I don't think he's going to really need to buy a place if he doesn't want to buy one right away. So asking about retreats. So I do have retreats coming up in 2025, which I'm quite excited about. So I have 6 planned so far. I don't want to say too much, but they start probably in May. So there's going to be one May, one June, one July. I'm not going to do one in August because it's very hot and it's just expensive also to travel to France. So then I'll do one in September and another one in October. I'm still working out kind of exactly what they all are. The one in June is going to be painting, pastel painting, which I'm really excited about. It's an artist from New York who lives in Amsterdam, and he will be coming to teach us his amazing style. And then I'm going to do, in July, I'm going to do Live the Chateau Life with Abby. So it's going to be kind of about, I'll take you to brocants and wine tours, and we'll go to the market, and I'll have a chef, and it will just be fun. It'll just be about having fun in France. And then in September, we'll do the sketchbook one again. And October, we're going to, one of the women who came last year on the sketchbook tour is an American living in France, and she kind of is a font of knowledge about and helps people to move to France, helps Americans to move to France. So we're going to do a week-long kind of various seminars about the logistics of moving to France. Those are sort of what I've got planned. I'll have more information up on them, and maybe even a sign up to sort of gather interest. I probably won't be selling them quite yet because I've just got to work out all those details. I'll try and have as much information up on them as I can. I'm hoping kind of by mid-July, end of July. That's exciting. I get a lot of people asking how I met Thomas. And so I've probably mentioned it in previous videos, but if you remember Isabel, so I met Isabel when I traveled the first time to France to look for properties, and I stayed in a B&B, Airbnb, and she worked there. She works at this B&B. She, sets up the breakfast and all that. And so her and I just sort of became friends. And while I was there, we went out for a pizza dinner, and then she was just such a good communicator, and just she's just such a positive person. And so we stayed in touch. And then when she found out that I had bought the house in Agen, she was like, "Oh, you have to meet Thomas." So it turned out that she used to take care of this elderly woman who was her neighbor. And that turned out to be Tomas's grandmother. So she knew Tomas through this woman. And so she was the one who put me in touch with Tomas. So she's the one who brings the Afghani refugees who she adores, and she teaches them French and helps them get assimilated into France. So yeah, that's how I met Thomas. And he, it started very slow. We sort of fixed a couple of toilets. Now he helps me with my taxes, he kind of has taken on a bigger role. But he's working more and more kind of on his own property. So he's kind of trying to balance the two. So he hasn't been coming quite as often as he did last year. And, you know, he's coming for really specific projects at this point. So anyway, that's how Tomas came into the world, into my world. Anyway, that's probably it. That's all the questions that got asked on YouTube. I hope I have answered them. I hope I haven't done too many ums and ahs. I've had many complaints. I thought it would be funny to tell people who were complaining about my ums and ahs that they should make a game out of it and have a little glass of rosé next to the television or whatever they're watching on. And every time I said they should take a sip of rosé, and then maybe they wouldn't be so inclined to comment in such a friendly manner. Yeah, I have my little quirks, and so there you go. I am what I am, and they're not easy to change. Although sometimes I do try to cut them out of my videos. So anyhow, there we go. I am very excited to be going back on Monday, and I have missed my little doggy, and I have gotten no word from Tama. I figured no word is good word, but I have no updates from Tomas as to how she's doing. So I hope she's doing fine. And but I have been really missing her. It's been really strange. Honestly, in her whole 12, I think she's 12 years old. In her whole 12 years, I don't think I've ever been away for more than a few days, maybe a week, but not two. So it's just strange not being in this house with her. So anyhow, okay, well, I'll stop babbling now, and I hope you enjoy the video. I don't have a whole lot more to show you. So see you next week in France. So I had a really great time at Olivia's graduation. It was just a really proud moment. Of course, any mother would say so, but I think because I was such a participant in her getting to this point, you know, her and I lived in the firehouse for almost 3 of the 4 years that she was doing this program. And so I saw firsthand how much work it was and how hard it was and how hard she worked. So it was definitely a proud moment. So it felt like my graduation as much as hers, I think. So I'm super proud. Anyway, I'll do a little montage. Okay.
Wish that I could stay in this moment forever, so I can hold you in my arms. I will carry you on my shoulders as long as I'm able. Scare the monsters under your bed, deep in the abiding.
Dr. Olivia Dack.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the trustees of the university and the state of Washington, I hereby confer upon you the doctoral degree to which you are entitled, with all the rights and privileges thereunto pertaining. Yes, I am proud to present the 2024 Doctor of Naturopathic Medicine class of Bastyr University.
Everything I can for you. You grow up in a blink of an eye and move out and beyond your own. But no matter what comes your way,